Alright, I'm gonna do some
Mirage
kind of
Mirage would be the best map. Fixed
yeah,
I guess.
that's what I'm thinking. So could you just repeat your question because I started recording now. Then we can start.
So like, what are the basic fundamentals to hopping?
So first of all, I have an old video on exactly this topic. I'm not sure how relevant it still is because I haven't watched it for a long time. But I would honestly send you that video as well, so you can watch that. Just because there must be something valuable in that video, even though I think it's maybe from 2015. Hang on, let me put on issue cheats. I would say the CT fundamentals of AWP, like the most fundamental thing is kind of having a good read of the game. Because you can imagine if I'm starting window every round, but the T's are rushing B every round. This is not like going to net me a lot of kills, you know. The same way if I am starting A every round playing ticket, but they rush B every round, it's even worse. So like as an AWPer, because you have a position where you almost have complete freedom in any team, it's up to you to put yourself in the spotlight. And like as an AWP, one of the most important things is putting numbers on the board. So what you kind of want to do is find a way where you can like maximize your own kill total. It sounds kind of selfish, but in a way, getting good at doing just that will allow you to kind of get better at AWPing. Like teams invest. Like your team will invest more money in you than they invest in anyone else. So you want to, do what's right for you. Not that you have to bait every round or like these kind of things, but more so just that it's your job basically to put up good numbers. And it shouldn't be like a big pressure for you, but yeah, you still should bear this in mind. Like you have the freedom because you have the big weapon and you need to make it count, right? So that's like the number one thing, I guess. Another thing, you mentioned it before we started the session, kind of. Economy. Like most AWP players are pretty good with economy because they have to be. Like one of the things could be if you know you got like $2,400, then you can only buy a certain amount so that you can afford to open next round if you guys lose, for example. And doing that math while everyone is talking and stuff like this, it can be a little bit tricky in the beginning, but it is kind of important. Some teams as well have like some guy who's IGL, and then they will also have someone who is like kind of like the financial guy. Like he's keeping track of the enemy economy and also your own economy. And I think in some cases this is AWPers. At least have heard that the device has a really good understanding of like economy overall. So those are two very important things. I think playing CT AWP is also a lot about knowing which rounds you should go for and which rounds you should not go for. Like there are outliers, like random example. Let's say Simple is maybe an AWP who doesn't save enough, and James is an AWP who saves too much. So that's worth thinking about as well. And then I also think like on each map there are a lot of like aggressive peaks you can go for. Like if I'm coming over to A, if I have front spawn for here, I can, you know, this is a little bit messed up in CS2, but I can jump in here, I can take this angle. I could also, you know, have Molotov slope at the beginning, play behind the Molo and peek this, and then after the Molo is done, I can keep holding this. I don't know, I'm just giving you some examples, but I like starting window, and if I feel like, okay, they're not going mid, you can smoke a Molo Palace, and as soon as this is up, it allows you freedom to peek slope. You can do con peek. I remember in CSGO, I'm not sure if it actually works in this, but I would do it that I would do a smoke like that. Because it would land in a way where it would turn off the Molotov if the T's would Molotov con. But it would still allow me to peek con. And what this smoke allows you to in CSGO, I guess it also does in CS2, is that it allows you to peek above it as well. It's a super powerful smoke. You should know things like the new nades to block or like ruin the window smoke. You should know how to short jump. There are many underground peaks you can go for. There's many B. I mean, these are kind of the basics. And then I guess for T side, being really good with utility is very important. I think also there are some things you can do as AWP that you can't do with other weapons. Let's say I know the guy is planning on A, and let's say I've been holding this the entire time, and he plants the bomb. Well, now I know he has to be default, and maybe it's worth it for me to now sit and hold this for a little while longer, just to make sure that if he wants to try to cross, then I know it. And then I can go here and I know I only have to play left side. Where if I'm trying to hold this angle with a rifle, it's, yeah, obviously less likely I'm gonna get the kill and he can kind of still move around. So locking down angles as a T-AWP is really important. If your teammates are going up con, coming here and holding ticket peak so that your teammates don't die, can do a whole lot. Yeah, I hope that kind of answers your question, but I will also like send you this video.
No, that made a lot more sense, especially economy-wise.
Yeah.
Because usually when I op, it's just when I pick up like a dead teammate or enemies.
Yeah.
Because they aren't able to.
I think also as an AWP you can a lot of time save less money. Like a con player, for example, who doesn't have a smoke will have a really hard time playing con, you know. But an AWP buying all body armor can still go here. Oh, okay, I got smoked window. Okay, then I can go take this angle. I can still be like very fluid with my movement. But like if the con player doesn't have a smoke here, this is nasty, you know. It's so the weapon costs more, but you can also do more without utility. You can actually also do way more without armor, you know. So it's worth knowing.
I see a lot of oppers run double flash instead of all 4 nades. Why is that?
I would say that's probably mostly on T side. I don't know if that's the feeling you have as well.
On T side, yeah.
Yeah. So the idea is just that when you play double flash, I mean, as T side AWP, the options you kind of have is either go for an entry or set up the play. Like, and if you want to be setting up the play, let's say I want to do like a lamp flash to start, and then I also want to be doing a flash for stairs. I need 2 flashes. And also, I mean, an HE can be really valuable on CT, because if I'm jumping ticket or something like this, and now I see they're coming up, if I nade Tetris, this is kind of guaranteed damage. But as T-AWP, if I'm coming up here and I know his ticket, it's very likely that I would rather lock down this angle than I want to pull out an HE and nade him and then he can jump back, you know. If I can lock down his position, my teammate can come and Molotov. And on CT you don't really have the same. Like, I cannot just sit and lock down an angle and like have someone stuck in a corner very often. So like having an extra flash will allow you to play support more easily, I guess. But there are some maps where I would prioritize a nade anyway. Like a map like Inferno, for example, it can be really nice to have an HE for taking banana with the team.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions, guys?
Yeah, I have a question.
You can go.
Thank you. So I'm working on getting my time to kill improved while rifling. And my spray control is okay. Like my 4-round, 5-round burst is pretty okay. And I'm just wondering in general, what's sort of the optimal way to have that fast time to kill? Sort of focusing on the gunplay and ignoring crosshair placement. Like I know that all needs to be on point. That makes it easier. And what I've observed from some people is what they'll do is they'll basically go for a flick shot with the AK. So they'll usually do like a single tap. If they don't get the headshot, then they'll slowly adjust. And from there, it's a little difficult for me to ascertain if I should be doing a series of 2-round bursts or if I should just go for the full spray. Once we get to like mid-range and especially long range with the AK, I have a lot of trouble, obviously.
I would say like time to kill is actually like a pretty interesting subject to talk about, because there is a sweet spot for any player, basically. Like, someone like Tepson, for example, he has a really low time to kill, or someone like Nico, for example. And it's like they play very low sensitivities, but they have a really high headshot percentage. So their time to kill is pretty low because they make their shots count, right? Take someone like, I don't know, random name that popped up in my head, Amanek, right? Someone who plays a really high sensitivity. He might still have a low time to kill in duels where his crosshair is far from the opponent when he spots him without hitting the headshot, if that makes sense. Someone like Tepson, it might take him longer to move his crosshair onto the opponent, but he also is more likely to have perfect accuracy. And so I think when it comes to time to kill, it's like it can be a little bit of a tricky subject to attack, because you gotta make sure you find like a sensitivity that's really feeling good for you. There's different ways to do it. Like, if you have really clean aiming, for example, and really high accuracy, if that's one of your strengths, maybe playing a lower sensitivity where you're more consistent would be better, because calmly placing your crosshair on the enemy and then shooting is maybe better than having like simple aim where it's super shaky, but if you have super shaky but very fast aim, like if your flick shots are good, for example, but your accuracy is not that good, maybe it can actually be better for you to play a little bit of a higher sensitivity, since it allows you to, if you don't hit the instant headshot, at least get some shots on target, if that makes sense. Even though it sounds kind of backwards, it's kind of like that. For what you said, struggling with knowing which aiming style to employ, it's like something that's kind of hard to teach, because it's something you gotta learn for yourself. Let me see if I can return to spawn here and pick up an info. So like, say I am playing this angle connector and I'm waiting for someone to come out. I am not gonna wanna like do small bursts or something, or tap fire, because what is most likely going to happen is that when this guy swings out, I need to kill him as fast as I can, or he might kill me. But also, it's really like that he has like extra teammates swinging out. So I have a time gap to kill this guy of maybe half a second to a second. And if I don't get the kill within this time gap, I have to leave the fight. But an example of, it will probably be easier if it was not Mirage, but I'm thinking like nuke outside, for example. When I see these players like Nico who have really high accuracy, I see them tap fire a lot, because a lot of the fights you can take on nuke outside are fights where you can be kind of sure that you're fighting only one guy. Like, it's quite easy to angle isolate, where on an angle like this, I mean, there is no angle isolation. There's angle isolation, but as soon as the T could cross this, or he can have teammates coming out, you're no longer fighting just one guy, and that's what makes it really difficult. Whereas if you are playing nuke outside and you take like a small angle, or if you have a read that the outside player is alone, you can take your time more. So it's like a little bit of an assessment. I think spraying on super long ranges is not that great, but I still do it a lot, because I think personally my accuracy is not that great. But if I know it's a duel where I can take the time to tap fire or do multiple bursts, I absolutely would prioritize doing that. But it really depends on the situation, and it's not something black and white. I mean, if you are like an actual beginner or something, it's good to be like, oh yeah, okay, if I'm fighting this ticket guy, I should probably tap fire, Like, I'll just show you an example. Let's say it might be best for me to tap fire because it's far, but like, if I want to, I can still get a pretty tight spray. Like something where the first bullets are hitting, or if I'm peeking jungle, I can still do like the first 10 bullets in the same spot, more or less. And this is enough to get the kill, so there really isn't like a black and white answer. You gotta play some deathmatch, you gotta play some matches, you gotta find a feeling for it. Some people are also more ice cold, like if it's someone like Rups, it's possible he will tap fire way more in this situation, whereas if it's someone like random name again, but like Fame from Versus Pro. It's not that he's a bad aimer. He's just not as ice cold. Like his aim is more shaky, and because of that, he will spray more, I think. So working on your time to kill is partly finding a sensitivity that works for you and finding out what aiming style suits you. If you have really high accuracy and very smooth aiming, on range, tap firing is probably better because there will be less RNG involved. But if you're the type of guy, maybe a little bit more like me or someone like Simple, who has like kind of shaky aim, getting really good at spraying even at long distances might be better for you. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Who else? There was someone kind of waiting in line with a question. I want to make sure that person comes next.
I was wondering, like, how do you fight burnout?
Oh, this is a banging question as well. You guys are giving me like lovely questions to talk about. So like, I have a ton of ways to fight burnout. The most effective one for me. Well, actually, I can give you the answer as a coach, and then afterwards I can give you the answer as an actual answer, but that I'm not allowed to say, kind of. Because one answer is like what a coach should be teaching, and the other answer is like something that I've done personally, and I feel like it has worked for me in my career. But anyway, so first of all, fighting burnout, the best way you can fight burnout is don't get burned out, right? Like, getting good at playing Counter-Strike, it actually has a lot to do with learning to listen to your body. Like, if you're low on fluids, you need to be able to feel that. You need to be able to feel, I need to drink more. If you are hungry and you're losing focus because of this, you gotta get used to listening to your body in this instance. If you don't get enough sleep, you gotta listen to your body. There's all these things where if you get good at listening to what your body needs, or like, oh, I'm not performing right now because this and that, that will help a ton with burnout, because all these things make you just burn out more. Like, I think we've all had those days where we played like 7 facets in a row or something ridiculous, and at the end our brains are just mush, you know. It's impossible to focus and we play super bad. I've had definitely like a couple of days in a row now where I haven't listened to my body. Like, I knew it, but I don't eat, for example, for 7 hours, and I can't play anymore. So that is part of it. One of the best things I can say is that I had some problems with burnout in my career. I think every player has. And I talked to a mental coach who explained it to me like this. The brain is a muscle, just like a bicep or, you know, whatever. For anyone who's familiar with like working out and stuff like this, it's very normal. Even if you are like competing for the world's strongest man, you want to typically do splits, and you want to do like 6 days per week. So, I mean, I'm not too knowledgeable on working out, but from what I understand, like doing splits means that one day I will be working out my chest and whatever, and then the next day I will do back and blah blah blah, and the third day I will do legs, and then you repeat the cycle, and then on the 7th day you do full rest. Like, you don't do anything, even if you are the most hardcore guy, because your muscles need time to when you work out, basically you break down your muscles and they rebuild stronger, right? So with your brain it's sort of the same. By feeding it a lot of basically working out, which is playing, you are teaching the brain to get smarter, obviously, but your brain needs rest as well. And the only time really when your brain gets actual rest, it's during sleep. So if you're one of those guys who is like juggling school and Counter-Strike, you just have to know that if you go on these weeks where you're getting like 5 hours per sleep and then you like catch up on it in the weekend, you are tiring out your brain unnecessarily. If you are adjusting to a new environment, let's say you're joining a new team, you gotta sleep extra. If you are going through like a new strat book, you gotta, sleep extra. If you, all these things, like, your brain is a muscle and it gets tired and it gets overworked the same way as any other muscle in your body. And the way to have this restitution for your brain is by sleeping. So it's like a really, really big thing. Avoiding burnout is like about listening to your body. And then what I always did is that if I could feel myself getting burned out, it would happen a lot that, for example, in Sprout was where I had the most consistent, I guess, time period. I would be playing, and then at some point I would just feel like, I'm not able to focus. I'm not thinking fast enough. I'm just not being myself. And when I hit these periods, that's when I realized, okay, I'm getting kind of burned out. How can I fix this? And so the way I did fix it was, it sounds really counterintuitive in a way, but if I found out I was burned out, I would, if we had a weekend off, I would take 2 days where I don't touch the game at all. Like, I'm not allowed to think about the game. I'm not allowed to touch the game. Not at all. So, like, I had to completely reset my brain. I would go do something with family or friends or something like this. And it sounds so weird, and it is always so difficult for me. I'm playing worse, so I gotta take a break. But, like, that's, again, listening to what your body needs. And typically, if you don't give yourself this off time, you're only going to get worse and worse and worse. And this is one of the biggest mistakes I've made in my career, is that when I'm playing bad, I want to play more to kind of make up for it and get back. But sometimes all you got to do is let your body rest. If, let's say, I wouldn't have a weekend off, I would let my organization know, like my coach. I would say, listen here, I'm feeling really burned out. I'm not performing the way I'm supposed to. If there is a gap in the schedule where we don't have official matches, I would like to take some off days because I need to reset my mind, you know? And in Sprout, they were really good at listening to this. I feel like it was not like something that happened monthly or weekly, but maybe it happened like I was there for, I guess, 10 months, 10, 11 months. And it's happened maybe 2 or 3 times where I was like, I need a mental break. That's the coaching answer. The answer that I kind of don't want you guys to listen to, but still I want you guys to know. I don't know. I had this thing where if I would get these burnout periods, I would, if it was a weekend and I knew I had no obligations, I mean, I was younger also, but I would go out drinking with friends. And I had this stupid kind of saying that, I would go drinking and then I would kill off all the stupid brain cells that were making me lose. It's not really true, obviously. And I'm not, I mean, if anyone here has problems with drinking, I don't want to, like, give you any bad ideas. But just, I want you guys to realize that this is kind of one way to handle it. Like, find something that works for you, that gets you out of your chair, out of your house, where you can reset mentally. Like, it's super important. So that's
honestly,
yeah.
I was getting burned out until I finally got like a job.
Yeah.
I was having trouble finding employment in my field until recently.
Yeah.
And I felt like I've gotten exponentially better because I used to think that just churning down practice and practice after practice before going to bed and early in the morning to let it rest. But really, I realized just like if I practice less, I learn better, and I also learn more because my brain's being occupied with something completely different during the day.
Yeah. I mean, imagine also, like, I'll tell you how pro schedules work, right? So, like, a normal schedule would be like 11 to 18. And then you would have a break, like, either at 14 or 15 for 1 hour. And, yeah, for you Americans, I hope you can still follow. But at least, it's like, it's actually only like 6 hours of playing, basically. And some of that will be theory. So, in reality, maybe you play 4 or 5 hours of Counter-Strike per day. If you have an official match, for example, if it's a best of 3, it's very likely you don't do any practice beforehand. Like, you do a warm-up game 1 hour before. Maybe you talk also 30 minutes before that. But, like, if you have an official match, a lot of teams don't practice on those days because it makes them too tired, kind of. So, in actuality, there's like a ton of face-it grinders out there who are putting way more hours into the game than pro players on like a regular basis. But those guys are not where the pros are because it's like the old saying, work smarter, not harder. And I want to mention one last thing when it comes to burnout as well. I'm one of those guys who is like, I didn't used to be, but I've become one of those guys who's changing his settings way too much. And this is something that burns me out a lot. When I'm changing settings and I need to adjust to new things, or if I'm changing my mouse, or if I'm changing my resolution, these kind of things, this shit burns me out so quick. Like, sometimes it can take one day. And yeah, if you guys are interested, I can explain why, like from a psychology standpoint, because I kind of know the answer. But
yeah, I mean, you can explain that.
Yeah,
Because I changed my sense a lot too. Because I go from 70 centimeters back to 51,
okay,
and then back to 70, back to 51.
yeah,
Because those are sensitivity ranges I'm very comfortable with.
yeah. So the way I got it explained to me at some point was that there's this, I think his name is like this, like some pretty famous psychology dude who wrote some best-selling books. His name is Daniel Kahneman, and he has this idea in psychology that your brain's actions, basically, they are split up in system 1 and system 2. So like system 1 is what's really easy for the brain. It can be something like, okay, I'm gonna go pee now, and then you don't need to think about how do I pee. You know, it's not very complex, okay? But sometimes it can be tasks that are complex, but that we have gotten so good at that it comes naturally. And the best example I have for that is, I don't know how many of you guys have a driver's license, but like, I've had it a ton of times that I'm sitting in my car driving somewhere, and it's only when I arrive at my destination that it hits me like, yo, I didn't once think about actually driving the car. Like, not pressing the clutch, not pressing the speed or changing gear, any of this. All of it was completely natural, and it was system 1, even though driving a car is actually pretty complex. System 2 is kind of everything else. System 2 is where your brain is actually working. It's when you're learning something new, or you're out of your comfort zone, or these kind of things. And basically, if you're grinding face it all day, and you're keeping your sensitivity, keeping your resolution, keeping your mouse, keeping your whatever, the majority of what you're doing is system 1, because it's the same things that you've been doing all the other days. But as soon as you change just one of the settings, you're rewiring your brain in a way. Like, if you change your sensitivity, now your whole body needs to adjust to that. That's why we talk about muscle memory. It's basically where you don't even need to think about aiming anymore. But I know for myself, if I like put my sensitivity up a lot, every single duel that I'm going into, I'm thinking like, oh, but my sensitivity is higher now, so I gotta like make sure that I can, like, stuff like this. And it's much more conscious thinking. So by changing your settings and doing these things, you're gonna burn out faster, because it is more difficult for your brain to have to relearn something every single day. Whereas if you keep everything you have, it's much more closely related to system 1. And then it's only really if you are like, let's say, playing a tournament that you're not used to playing at this level or something, where you get kind of out of your comfort zone and maybe, you're a little bit uncomfortable, and then it becomes like a little bit system 2 again. But that's why we again talk about experience, because then you get used to playing on a bigger stages, then it becomes again system 1. Could go on and on. But
so ideally, you want to have system 2 active in some way. Is that what you're saying?
No,
or do you want it to be inactive?
I mean, there should probably be a mix, but it's just more like, if you're changing your sensitivity or mouse or something like this every single day, it's just way too much system 2, and it will tire out your brain faster, meaning you need more sleep, you'll have more times where you will need a break. If you don't change your settings and you're just grinding, it will be less heavy for your head, and you will most likely improve faster. It's okay to do sometimes, but doing it multiple times per day, or doing it once per day, can be too much, and it will like stunt your growth as a player, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've changed some other things. I'm not sure if it'll affect my brain, but I'm like a big like tech nerd and stuff.
Yeah.
But I found that moving to extremely high DPI is actually beneficial. Sensitivity, like for your mouse latency.
Okay.
So I moved from that, and now the accuracy is definitely there, but I feel like things are a little too accurate in CS. Because like in like 400 DPI, your like micro movements aren't as smooth
Yeah.
because you're not moving as much.
Yeah.
The sensor's not reading it. But if you move it to 3200, it's 8 times that.
Yeah.
Now there's obviously a drop off, but
Yeah.
I felt like the change to it, because like higher sensitivity sort of feels slower.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it. And also, if you're not running G-Sync, you probably should, and run a frame cap, because you'll have way lower latency than fixed refresh if you're running a more modern G-Sync monitor.
Okay, I thought actually G-Sync gave you a lot of input lag. That's how it used to be, at least.
In CS:GO it did, but now you have NVIDIA Reflex, so that sort of invalidates it.
Okay, that's actually something I will look into, because that sounded very interesting. I'm all for that.
The game will feel the game will feel a lot smoother.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Look wise.
I did play G-Sync for some years back in CS:GO actually. But what you mentioned right now was a perfect example of this system 1, system 2, that you are like, there's so much conscious thinking about this topic, right? And it has made you change something. So now you're thinking even more about it. And yeah, it's not necessarily bad, but just if you find some new topic that you want to play around with or change every single day, there's a lot of constant thinking, and it will tire out your brain. That's how that works. That's also why a lot of the good players like don't even need to play deathmatch, because it is just so second nature to them. But if they would go to change their settings or something like this, they have to do it kind of over again. But yeah, sorry.
I just kind of do a deathmatch to warm up because the workshops don't work.
Yeah.
And I don't want to launch my game twice just to warm up.
Mm-hmm. Did someone have a question? I think I maybe
I was
interrupted
just
someone.
gonna say like the burnout that I'm experiencing right now is probably just like grinding too much. I don't change my settings and I don't really have the money to change like my computer or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I found that when I get home and I'm like looking at what games I want to play, I either struggle to think of what to play, or like I'll load up a different game like Apex Legends or something like that, and that's where I've sort of realized that I am actually getting burnt out right now.
Yeah.
Especially Gosu Academy as well, because they send you pings if you've not joined the server enough. They're like, "Oh, are we doing anything wrong?" I'm like, "Oh no, I'm just burnt out."
Yeah.
Just can't be bothered playing. So
I
that's
just try
sort
my
of
best to
where
join, but
that's where like that sort of question came from.
Yeah. Do you have any games that are not like first-person shooters, multiplayer?
Oh yeah, I've been playing like Bloons Tower Defense and stuff.
I speedrun
that's nice.
The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask.
Yeah, but see, speedrunning as well means you're like, that's system 2 basically.
Well, I'm at a level where everything's muscle memory. It's just if I mess up on something.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I kind of get
That's fine.
screwed. But I'm at a point, and I run glitchless, so it's not like it's glitched. No major glitches. That is hell. I would never learn that. But glitchless is mainly just a waiting game, because the speedruns are about like 6 hours.
Yeah, that makes sense. But I think it's really important, like, I also used to have this, that I would play, like, let's say Counter-Strike, and then if I was not playing Counter-Strike because I was feeling a bit burned out, I would go play Call of Duty. And even though it was a little bit less intense, I think it can be really valuable to have a game that you play just to have fun. Like for me, I play RuneScape, which is like super relaxed, or at least it can be. And it's really good to help with burnout, in my opinion, especially because it's a game where it's like an RPG basically. So you get level ups and stuff like this. And what I found is that when I'm burned out, sometimes I feel like by not playing, I'm missing out on something. Like I'm losing time because other people are grinding, and that's why I like playing games where you can kind of level up, because you can still have this sense of accomplishing something even in a game which is very relaxed. Because like when you level up, it feels like, oh, I did something, you know. I don't know. That's how I use that.
Yeah, that's like, I think that's sort of why I'm almost like addicted to Bloons Tower Defense right now. It's like,
well, I'm kind of playing on a different input. I'm not sure if that goes into System 2 or not. But I'm playing on a the GameCube controller.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's a
System
2 thing.
Yeah.
I'm hyper familiar with the inputs. So it's not like my mouse or mouse pad or anything.
Yeah, I don't know.
I guess like the other relaxed team, I'm really good at Overwatch.
But that's
Like,
also
I don't like the
kind of
game
similar,
anymore.
so I think you should.
That's quite competitive.
Yeah.
It's-
Yeah, it is competitive, but I don't take it as serious as I would in CS:GO and CS2, and I feel like it works out a little better.
No.
I
For
came
me.
to the thing because I almost became pro in Overwatch, and then Brigida became a thing. So,
Okay. Yeah.
but that's sort of that's why I sort of have like a couple of like games that can turn my brain off and just sort of relax and play.
Yeah.
Like Ark,
I mean,
like
I
the
play-
new Ark game that came out, and
Also play just other old games that are on like console and stuff. So what I try to get my mind off CS,
Yeah.
like
It's
racing
good to
games,
do.
etc.
Yeah, it's good to do. It's good. There's many good games like for that kind of stuff. Does anyone have any other questions?
Um,
I have one more, but I'll let other people go if they have anything.
That's very sweet.
I don't have one yet, but
Okay. Hey, Rousem, I believe you were the one who just joined, right? Do you have a question about anything Counter-Strike related?
Yep.
Okay, that's all good, man.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was wondering, how do you approach IGLing? Because that's like, I think that's like 10 classes, but I'd like to the kind of more advanced level of it, right? So, how do you organize the strats? How do you organize the team? How do you give each player their freedom? Etc. Etc.
So I think this is a pretty tough one. As you said, it's something that we could talk about for hours upon hours upon hours. I remember at some point I kind of split up IGLing in a few different ways. I'll see if I can come up with it. Like, basically as an IGL, you have what's called spawn calling, right? It's where you have either an indication or like a feeling that something is gonna work, right? So let's say super random, the CTs were stacked A last round, and you went A, and they absolutely demolished you. My normal feeling would be like, okay, I want to go A again, because it's really unlikely they will stack A after just winning with an A stack, you know? That would be an example of spawn calling. Then there is like mid-round calling, which is something that happens during the round. So something happens, people are dying, you're in a 3-on-3, and someone needs to make a decision, and it will a lot of the time be the IGL. Then, I mean, spawn calling is, I guess, in a way also like a little bit blind, because it's mostly on feeling. There's also like kind of, I guess, reactive calling. This is maybe a little bit more what I was saying, like that I have a feeling that they are doing something because of what they have done previously, you know. Then we also have like defaults, which is just going out on random round basically, and well, it's not very random. It's pretty set still most of the time in top teams, but at least you play out the round to see what you can do by just feeling the game, and then afterwards you will end up in a mid-round call. You can kind of split up IGLing a little bit in this. Obviously pistol rounds are also something, but I think just yeah, it's a hard topic to kind of approach, because we could go so into detail with everything, and it's kind of hard to give like a general answer. I mean, the super general answer is, as an IGL, you want to call in a way where your team ends up making the right decision as much as possible. That's like obviously super basic. And the question is more like, how do we get there? So this example I just did, if the CT stack A, and they win, and we are T, then I would maybe say, okay, I want to go A next round, because it's really unlikely to stack A. It's a big mind game between IGLs at the top as well, where it's kind of like known that people think, like at a lower level, people think like this: okay, we went B and we lost, now we go A, kind of thing as T. And so for a lot of top IGLs, they kind of want to try to play that mind game. They will be like, okay, we went B and we got absolutely demolished, I want to go B again, you know. But with IGLing, there are so many layers. Well, it's kind of everything in Counter-Strike. Like, If I kill someone while playing top of bulk and peeking slope, if I then next time play default, well, then this guy might be peeking top of bulk, and maybe I can kill him here. And then maybe next round he expects me to go back to top bulk, but I'm actually playing default again, or something like this. You can always add like a million levels of mind games. And this is really what IGLs do a lot. IGLs have a really big responsibility, because part of it is setting up strats. That was one thing you asked about. I guess the way you would do it is just, if you want to do A smokes on Mirage and you want to have this as a set strat, you will make a document, like a Google Docs or something like this, and you write down every single person's role, basically. So like, okay, NATO, you are the AWP, so you are doing the CT smoke. Actually, I'm not even doing the CT smoke. NATO, you're doing the CT smoke, and then you're doing a lamp flash, and then you come up afterwards and you do a stairs flash instant or something. That's in the document now. Then, okay, Farium, you are doing the bench smoke, and then you're gonna do like a flash for yourself, and go in and clear slope, and then your job is to run blah blah blah, clear sandwich first and run full without stopping blah blah. Having those kind of things coordinated is one thing. What some teams then also do, it's not every team, but some teams do what's called dry running. Dry running is where you're on an empty server, you're not playing against anyone, but you will run the tactic exactly the way that you want to. That way, if someone is doing something they're not supposed to, you can catch it before you end up in a practice or in a match where it might be harder to see. And then you can basically practice running the strat without the fear of failing. And it's like a way to iron out the kinks. Yeah, I guess other than that, like there's defaults as well, where you discuss like, okay, we have one that's called 131. I can actually show you like a default we had in Complexity when Blimef was caller and I was playing stand-in. We had that if someone had the best spawn, he would always run while someone else would be smoking window. And when he would come out here, he would get the VP flash, this one, which blinds the guy in window, and also anyone pushing mid. And then he would jump out, and if there would be con smoke, then he would come over close to the con smoke and he would Molotov short. But if there was no con smoke, then he would immediately come here and Molotov inside con and try to fight it or something like this, because the idea was that then we also had someone do top con smoke a little bit late or something like this. These are things where it's a default round and we're doing something that's not a set strat. We're not expecting to end up on a bomb site already or have made any decisions about it, whether or not we're going A or B. But we still have a general plan for how we want to approach the round. And IGLing can become really theoretical. As you're going up the levels, you will have coaches who are teaching you like some of the roles about, yeah, when they do this, we do that and stuff. But IGLing can also be really easy. Like if you want to start IGLing, you can do that by just simply calling off a feeling. Like there are some IGLs who are known for calling from spawn a whole lot, like Snappy for ends. They are known to be a really execute heavy team that don't run that many defaults, and it's all because, I mean, Snappy is in a way playing the mind game. He's thinking, okay, we did this last round, so I think this would be a good call now or something. I know someone like Bird from Sky as well. He's also the type of guy where he will call on nuke like an A rush and then you win it, and then he will call it 3 more times in a row and win it every single time. That is something that, I mean, it's kind of theoretically maybe not the right decision, but you're banking on the fact that you're winning the mind game. And as an IGL, I think a lot of the time having a bad call is better than having no call. So just being that one guy who's willing to take charge, it can be better. Like a bad call that people follow and that they trust will have a bigger win percentage than a good call that isn't being followed. But as you said, we could talk about IGLing. Like I could talk about it so damn long. If you want, you can give me like maybe a more specific question, and I will be able to give a more specific answer, I guess.
I'd be more interested, actually, in how, let's say, right, I'm just gonna do a story instead of a question. Let's say my team has a few players who don't really understand some certain fundamentals, right? And you try to explain to them, and they still don't understand. What else can you do at that point to help them get to understanding that? Because it's quite important, right, for the progress of the team.
Yeah. I mean, the way that teams do this is that they will like play matches. It could be even something like just playing Faceit if you're not like at a level where you're playing matches. And you could be playing them, and maybe you see something where you feel like, okay, my teammates have not understood this. Then all pro teams, they have like review settings, or like review sessions. And you guys could do that at any level as well, you know. You could download the demo off of Faceit or wherever platform you're playing it on, and then watching through the demo again, and you can be there teaching them like, yeah, okay, when this happens, we gotta do that, and so on and so forth, you know. You cannot expect them to do it correct the first time they hear it. And especially if you've never said it, you definitely cannot expect them to do it correct. If you're talking more about like pugging and stuff like this, what I like to do is that if I see my teammates simply just are not good enough to understand something advanced, I will try to run really simple things. So like, for example, I as a caller maybe think it would be really good to do an A fake now. So what I'm calling is, guys, let's do A smokes, but then Poco and Psychopump, you lurk underground when we do A smokes, so we're gonna fake A and blah blah. And then you have like a really long thread, and it's pretty complex, and there's a lot of timings that need to be had and stuff like this. If I fail this round, because we fuck it up completely, maybe people are nervous, maybe people are unfocused, maybe people are not good enough, whatever it may be. It might be that I, as an IGL, then in the next round will approach it way more simple. I will be like, okay guys, I want to just do window smoke and an A-pop. And then they say, okay, and then I say, yeah, and like Shockfly, you're doing lip flashes. Okay, so then I'll say, yeah, I have window smoke spawn, boom. Okay guys, let's get ready on A. Be ready with flash, Shockfly. Let's just get close and let's just pop together. Flash, boom. And then that is something that is so simple that even a brain dead monkey could do it, you know. So I think if there's something where you feel like your teammates are incapable of doing it because there's some information they are lacking, you gotta simplify your game. Someone like Hunden, for example, who was known to be one of the greatest minds of Counter-Strike, I guess he still is, he was known for running like a ton of defaults. The thing with running a ton of defaults is that that's where there's the most individual decisions made, which can win or it can lose your rounds. So to run a lot of defaults, you need to have really smart teammates who are very good. That's why most of the... I actually would kind of argue that every team that has had an era, except Fnatic, have been very default heavy. And it's because default is the most consistent way of playing Counter-Strike. If you have people who are good at making individual decisions, it doesn't really matter which position they get put in. As long as they make the right decision, you still have a pretty good chance of winning the round. Whereas if you do something where every round you're playing super simple, like doing A-pop, then B-pop, stuff like this, you might just run into a game where your opponent is just reading all your calls. And yeah, they can be really tough. So you gotta kind of, also as an IGL, you gotta know what you're working with. If you're playing with people who have like a ton of experience and you feel like they're really good at playing default, call a lot of defaults. If you're playing with people who are like Faceit puggers and the only thing they know is headshots, calling really simple is a much better decision. Does that answer your question?
Kinda, but I was see, if I go into more in depth, I feel like it would kind of be repeating itself. So I just say thank you.
Okay, I mean, maybe you can try, and if I feel like I don't have a better answer than I've already given, I can move on, you know?
Alright, yeah, that's fair. So let's say we've done the review, we've done the talk. We mentioned that the teammates said, yeah, we'll focus on that, we'll do that.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, your 5 games later, your 10 games later, or let's say like a few screams later, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it still hasn't improved the amount you wanted, the amount you have expected.
Mm-hmm.
That fundamental to improve. What can you do more?
You can't do anything, because I had a teammate, for example, who would always show up late to practice, and he refused to play deathmatch, and in general he was just really lazy. I think I told him 100 times and he never fixed it, and it hit me that people only change if they want to change. So if you have some guy, you've tried to teach him the same thing 15 times and he's still not doing it, it's probably less to do with him being on, like, either he's incapable of doing it, and at that point you just have to be like, you have to cut your losses, you have to replace the player if you think this is something that, if he can't learn that, he's not good enough for the team. Or the only other option is that he simply chooses not to want to learn it. Like, maybe he actually disagrees with what you're saying and he just does not want to learn it. I guess that's kind of the answer. Like, you can, how is that saying? You can bring a horse to the water, but you can't force it to drink, or whatever. Like,
yeah, you can bring a horse to water, but you can't force it to drink.
Yeah.
Or you can't
So, like, if you were trying to teach them the same thing every single time, you're essentially bringing them to the water over and over and over. But I mean, if you can't force the horse to drink. It has to be coming from them, and yeah, if they're incapable or unwilling, you can't do anything. You can't force them to learn. And then you probably gotta just decide, okay, this is not the type of guy I want to work with.
Alright, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Any other questions, guys?
Yeah, mine's a sort, well, not kind of similar, but how do you know what roles for you, if that makes sense? Like, for example, I'm quite an aggressive player, so when I started out Counter-Strike, I was more of the entry fragger, and then I picked up opping, and then now I want to be like more like JKS in a way of like being a support player.
Yeah.
And I just like, I don't necessarily know what's the best role, because I can go back to like games that I need to go back to like being a bit more aggressive and my team's a bit more passive.
Yeah.
I can go to entry frag and frag out and have like a really good game, or you know, if we're struggling, if the op player's struggling, I can go pick up the op if he dies, and then I can go and like clutch around and sort of snowball off of that. So I don't necessarily know at this stage what roles suits me the best.
Yeah.
I've come to find that I actually really like I enjoy setting up players, but most of the time I normally try and, or I normally have to put the weight on my shoulders for clutching rounds out, or for sort of trying to save the game.
If you are the one setting up teammates, you are like going to end up in clutches, because they will die and you will be left in a clutch, you know. So that's why someone like JKS, for example, he is super good in clutches. These kind of support players, that's kind of their main job in a way, because you're playing roles where you like, you don't have that much impact on the play, and you will have a lot of rounds where you just feel like you can't do anything. So you gotta get good at, yeah, playing in clutches. You will play a ton of clutches. That's it. If that's what you want to do. Like, in terms of which role is best, I guess the best way I would just say it is, you should do what you like doing. I, for example, like doing, like, I liked AWPing a ton when I was younger. I still do as well. But by doing what you like doing, you're more likely to improve. Like, it's gonna be more natural. I think it's gonna be impossible for you to find a player in the top 30, for example, who's playing without passion. Like, passion is what drives people to get really good at stuff. And if you play roles that you dislike playing, but you think you're better in them, that passion is gonna, like, or that lack of passion is gonna, like, again, hold your process, I think. So I think what you need to decide with yourself is what you like most. If you like being like an aggressive entry fragger, you should do that. But if you like being like the guy setting up the play, which I hear you saying, you gotta get really good at playing the shit positions like B House Mirage, A Mirage, Pit on Inferno, these kind of things. And then that should be your main priority. Like, that's why someone like JKC is so good at what he does, is because he's always played those roles, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
Okay, yeah, that makes more sense. Just kind of like for now, for example, like, because support is probably, or playing support is the worst role, or my worst role, but I enjoy playing it more, so sort of take the losses but learn the role more because I enjoy it more, rather than take the easy win and playing like an entry frag, which I get miserable at because I'm dead half the time.
yeah, I guess that's kind of true. I mean, it's also easier kind of to know what role you like playing when you're playing in a team. Because in a Faceit, if you like playing entry frag and playing super aggressive, but you have 4 aggressive players, you're not helping your team. If you're playing super passive, but all 4 of your other teammates are passive, you're not helping your team. Or like, you guys are not a good fit for each other. If you're playing in an actual team where the roles are kind of defined, it's much easier for you to actually stick to a role as well. In Faceit, you have to be more fluid. And I think this is one of the biggest mistakes I've made in my career, is that I was so fluid in my role. It's again like a saying, but like the jack of all trades but master of none. I've definitely felt like that sometimes in my career, and I really recommend you to follow your heart, I guess. Like, find one thing that you like doing
What do you want,
and doing it a lot.
That was my cat.
Oh, welcome,
She's hungry.
Thumbhead, by the way. Great name and great profile picture as well. You guys got any more questions for me?
Let me feed my cat.
I have one really quick. Going back to the class you did on Inferno and Banana, like how you talked about like a full Banana take compared to mid aggression and passive. Do those 3, I guess we'll call them play styles, do they also transfer to all the other positions on all the other maps?
I would say you can kind of split everything up in it. But like, I guess on Inferno, all 3 of them are very useful. But like, if I want to try to split it up, like, let's say the passive style, right, would be on B something like jumping with smoke in hand, which is like super common. Dropping it here, yeah, it looks like this, and then I will drop it like this, and then I block off the side, and then maybe I play like around the smoke, boom, I kill one, I go here, kill this guy, whatever, right? Another could be late round, I'm sitting holding like this off angle, which is super nasty. Many things that I could do, right? But in terms of the midway aggression, I guess for B side it would be something like, oh man, I'm gonna be honest and say it's been a while. Does this even work? It doesn't work. Because it used to hit an invisible one. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I saw something like this, I think. Definitely not. Oh, wait, sorry. It was here. It was like this, I think. Like, this would be an example of midway aggression. Right? That I do this deep smoke, and I ask my teammates, I think you can, like, do just, yeah, a flash like this. bounces, and then I could take this first kitchen, and this is kind of like a mid-way aggression type thing. And then there's also like the full aggressiveness where I'm like trying to push all the way through B house. Now, every position has elements of each, but on B Mirage, for example, if you have your B player playing hyper aggressive, trying to push B house around, it's probably not going to be good for you. Like, if you watch the pros, most of them are playing passive on B side because it's the best style, and you also don't need to be as unpredictable as you need to be on Inferno, because on Inferno, it's like the T's are going to work together to kill you, basically. Like, the position is just kind of different, I guess. Like, for example, if I'm jumping here, and they know I'm jumping B every round, it's not like... I guess the best call you can do is... the front spawn goes in here. He tries to beat the Molotov, he tries to walk, he tries to get stuck in this corner. And then, after the Molotov, like, his teammates flash over, and now he's running out with a Mac-10 and trying to kill the guy who's jump spotting. Because he doesn't expect anyone to be close in this corner. It's like a strat that I had in previous teams. We call it Muddy. And this is an example of, okay, you're not being unpredictable, so they're gonna try to abuse you. But abusing this on B House Mirage is just much more tricky than it is abusing knowing the setup on Inferno, for example. So you can split everything up the same way on short. I could play passive, which is basically playing towards B. I could also play midway aggression, which is like playing ladder room, and I could also be the type of guy who's doing like, I don't know, these kind of smokes, flashing over window, running out, going up here, fighting this, fighting underground like this. Like, you can split up everything in those 3 columns, but some positions like B House Mirage, you will probably be playing the passive role much more than you will play the midway aggression or the aggro. If that makes sense.
Yeah. So I guess they do apply to other maps and positions. It's just some are more limited. Like, there might not be as good or a well-defined mid-aggression on one position as there is another.
Yep. That's a really good way to put it. Like, we could do it again on A. It could be something like playing passive is here. Let's say midway aggression is playing like default or whatever. And then hyper aggressiveness is like taking these fights, or it's taking like these fights, or trying to push big flank. You can always find some way where you can kind of put it in those same columns, but yeah, definitely some are more limited where, yeah, I think it makes sense. Alright, I think we have time for like 2 more questions, guys. So, if anyone got a burning wish to talk about something, now's the time.
Hold on.
And if no one has any questions, then maybe I can come up with something, or we can, yeah.
Have one.
You have a question?
I'd love to learn about the opposite side of what we just talked about. So, when you're playing T, when you should be passive versus aggressive, if you're...
Yeah.
I get, yeah.
So, as T, it's a little bit... I mean, it's a little bit more team-based in a way. Like, I guess on CT, for example, we just take the Inferno... Or let's take just this example. Let's say that I, as a B player, I want to play hyper aggressive this round, so I'm like actually instantly pushing this and stuff. Well, then my A player, he cannot also play hyper aggressive, because if we push on both sides, this is like also actually a really good like rule of thumb. If you push on both sides of the map at the same time as CT, you will always get info. And that sounds kind of positive, but it is not, because you will die either on A or B, and whoever dies, he's the guy whose side is going to get taken. And then the flank of the other is not really valuable. So typically you want to push only on one side of the map. For T's, it's like, let's say my teammates, they've done window smoke, and they have done VP flash, so they're like jumping out here. They're behind boxes and stuff. This is a time when I can like go play with them in underground, right? But there are also rounds where I want to go underground as a player, and my teammates, they smoke top mid and they're not even out mid. Well, if that is the case, then I can't play aggressive underground, because the CT who is playing con, if he's a good player, he has probably done like a smoke like this. You can see, okay, they're not out mid, and then he's going to check underground on timing, and he has advantage in these duels, basically. It's the same, we discussed it in the Mirage session we did. I don't think it was last week, maybe it was the time before, but like, if you're playing A house, ST, it's good to get into a forward position, but I don't really want to play out here aggressively until I know that the CTs are focused elsewhere. I want to play aggressive when I know I'm playing against one guy. You can imagine if it's like a really stupid example, but I mean, it's easier when you exaggerate, right? So if I'm just running here, and the CT under Belk is hearing me, and now there's two, like one here, and one under Belk, all fighting me at the same time. I've clearly made a mistake. I don't want to have many fights at the same time. But if I'm instead walking up here, and I'm thinking like, oh, I really want to go take a fight, but I'm worried that the orb is holding me from jungle, well then what I will be doing is I will wait until my teammates are fighting heavy in mid, and drawing the attention away so that I can have my one-on-one on A side, for example. This is an example of being aggressive as an individual, like being passive or aggressive. Another example could be, I don't really know if this works in CS2, or if I can even find it. I guess it's here. Like, let's say I'm doing like a smoke like this, right? And I'm putting pressure on the B guy. Does it land? Okay, it does. Let's say I'm doing a smoke like this, which makes it so their B player gets info later, basically, and it's more like something I can lurk in. Even if I don't choose to use the smoke, it could be that I'm putting this aggressive pressure to force out the CT utility. So this is an example of me playing aggressive, not because I'm trying to get an entry, but because I'm trying to generate pressure on this side of the map. You can imagine if I'm generating a lot of pressure, well, the B guy, he says, okay, short player, you need to come back and help me. Okay, well, then the short player is coming back towards B, and because he's coming back towards B, my teammates have more space in mid. There's also an example of where I would maybe want to play aggressive or show some presence, but not necessarily to play for the kill. Playing passive or aggressive as a team on T, because I kind of haven't covered this, is like dependent on a lot of things. If the CTs are playing hyper aggressive every round, for example, I find that a lot of people in Faceit think the answer to CT aggression is T aggression, and I heavily disagree. Like, if the CTs are gonna run and fight us in mid, the worst thing we can do as T is running out and trying to fight them. What I instead would do is try to fight them, or like play smart and fight them in spaces where we feel we have the advantage. Like maybe having someone sitting anti here, me sitting with orb up here, holding this. When I shoot, this guy instantly turns, he's ready, and we kill them when they are doing this hyper aggressiveness, you know. But let's say we're playing against a team that's playing super passive on CT. Okay, well now, if we are sitting passive as well in spawn, we are essentially not doing anything. We're not forcing utility out from the CTs, we're not pressuring them. We are winding down the clock, but the only thing that happens is that the CTs have utility and we're gonna be playing late rounds. That's not good. Another example could be, we know that they have low money, and because of that, it's very likely that the CTs are going to stack either A or B. Well, in that case, we shouldn't be playing super aggressive, because it's much better for us to be playing slow and calculated and using our utility to clear areas. It's again, nothing in Counter-Strike is black and white. There are like a million scenarios you'll go through in your career as a Counter-Strike player, pro or not. And really, what it comes down to is, what it comes down to is really like understanding when to do what. I sometimes use this example that it doesn't really happen that much anymore, but it used to happen a lot 7 years ago or whatever, that people would come into my Twitch chat and the question would be, how do I get better at Counter-Strike? And it's such an open question that there is no way I can ever say something that will help them. Like, I could tell them, yeah, you gotta spend more time on deathmatch, and that will probably help them, but it's such a vague question. And I don't necessarily think your question was very vague, but it's just asking something like, when should I play aggressive, when should I play passive? I can give kind of like rules of thumb, but I can't really teach you in a coaching session, like in one coaching session. I would have to, it's something you have to learn with time. It's like saying, how can I play better? It's like, there are a million answers to that question, and nothing in CS is black and white. So I hope some of the ideas I gave you now, like if the team is playing low, like if they have low economy, probably a bad round to play super aggressive, because we want to fight together and being more calculated. That's, for example, one thing I can say, but really it comes down to knowing when and when not to do things. And that comes with time and experience. Did that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. That's extremely insightful. I appreciate it.
Perfect. Man, I love the way you say it, Trith. I get so happy when I answer your questions because I'm feeling so validated after. Thank you, man. Okay, guys.
You're welcome.
We got time for... Yeah, thank you. We've got time for one last question here. Who's got it?
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, do you have any like tricks to get over rank fear or anything like that? Because I feel like rank fear is probably quite big, and well, specifically like lower or pretty much anyone under face at level 10.
I think one thing you can do is literally play the next 10 matches with twice your sensitivity. It sounds so stupid, and maybe it is really bad advice. I can't tell you. If you start playing less to win, and understanding that losing is part of the game, and that there's no problem with that. Like, you might go down 10 ranks, but the lesson that you learn might be valuable enough to be more beneficial in the long run than those 10 matches. Like, one thing you gotta realize also with CS is that I've had some crushing defeats in important games. I've lost, maps that could have sent me to the major, and now maybe I never will go there, right? And I forgot them, I bet you, while it feels like a monumental step to go from one rank to the other, if you continue playing, in 2-3 years, you're gonna laugh that you were worried about losing your rank, that you are now a far better player, I think also a really good tip can be, don't focus on your rank, focus on your improvement. Because you can, if someone at Faceit would offer me today to be the number one Faceit Elo player, or if Val would come and send me a DM and say, hey, limited time offer, you can be the number one ranked player in the world, I would not want that without putting in the effort, basically. It wouldn't give me anything. A rank is essentially useless. But if you focus on the process and focus on getting better, that will eventually give you the rank that you want anyway. And you're gonna learn far more. There's nothing fun with being 20,000 rating in Premier if you're not good enough to play around there. And the good thing with, I guess kind of how statistics work is that if you have a really big sample size, like if you play a ton of matches, you will be put in a rank that fits your level. And having a rank that fits your level will be much easier for you to track your process. Like, if you would win a couple of matches, like 10 matches in a row, and you get a super high rank, you know, it would probably be a lot of losses coming ahead if you didn't learn something along the way. But if you're...
Kinda sounds like...
Yeah?
Oh, sorry.
No, okay.
I was going to say, it kind of sounds like you're saying learn to enjoy losing. Which is... makes perfect sense, honestly.
Yeah, I guess just like... In the end, ranking points doesn't define you. Like, focus on getting better. If you're a 20,000 rating player in Premier who's been carried, that's not gonna feel good. But if you are like 15,000 rating Premier player who is playing solo queue and you're doing all of the work yourself, that's gonna feel far better. And if those two players are gonna play each other, the rating doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is who is the better player, basically. So focus less on the rank. The rank will come naturally. Focus on the process and the progress. Then the rank will follow. Like, but to add one last thing to that as well is that I'm gonna use RuneScape as an example again. I will use a sports example as well. But like, if there's some super hard boss that I'm trying to defeat in RuneScape, I can fail 20 times, and as soon as I do it once, I maybe almost never fail it again. The same way, you know, there are records in running, for example. Like, for ages we thought that breaking 2 hours in a marathon is impossible. And even though it hasn't really technically been done in an official race, it has been done. And now that that hurdle has been surpassed, it's far easier to do it again. That's just how human like psyche works. So you don't need to worry about losing rank and falling down in rank, because if you've been there before, you will get back to it. It's much easier the second time around.
Okay.
Alright, if someone has one fast question, we can do that one as well. I think Farium, you had one question, right? Is it?
Yeah, but it might be a little long to explain.
Okay, well try me, and maybe I will
But,
just explain it simplified.
Well, actually, it's the word. How would you... So, a player called Bit, you obviously know him.
Mm-hmm.
He has a keen talent on just being able to just minimize, like, how do I say it? Simplify the game, depending on where he's at.
Yeah?
How is that build? Like, how are you able to build that? Is that just extremely high game sense, or is there something else? Does his ability just to simplify everything that he's doing,
I think
is just something amazing to watch.
maybe you can put more words on it, because I feel like, from what I understand you're saying, I don't think Bit is like the greatest example. I feel like he's mostly known for his mechanical skill more than his game sense, you know?
Mm-hmm. Well, there's other players too, but they're just able to simplify the game and be on a different dimensional plane when they're like trying to do something. Like, it doesn't even necessarily have to be killing someone or being in a gunfight. It could just be positioning themselves on a map.
Yeah. I mean, I think most of those players are some of the GOATs of Counter-Strike. And it's kind of like a little bit reverting to the question, like, how do I get better? It's like, if you're watching football and the question is, how do I get as good as Messi? There are like 2 million things that you have to do, you know? This year it's like, how do I make it so every round feels easier, that I'm always in the right position? It's kind of the same. I mean, it's part of improving. And the reason that these players are able to do this is because they are just really fucking good. There are tier 1 players out there who don't have this ability. And it's because it is something really difficult. Like, I think someone like Sai Wu is probably the best example of a guy who makes playing pro CS look so damn easy. And some people, I always use it as an example, Simple is kind of the opposite. I think he makes playing Counter-Strike look really hard, but he's still very good at it. So it's possible to... Yeah, no, go ahead.
Yeah, that was another question, but I know you don't have time. It was just like, how do you build courage? I feel like that one's a bit more. But like, I'll ask that later.
Yeah, a quick answer, I guess, is a lot of courage in Counter-Strike comes with not caring about deaths, basically. When I was younger, I would take, like, if I would die, I would take that almost like a knife to the heart. Like, it would feel so bad. I had so much negative emotion if I would just die in any given round. But dying is a part of Counter-Strike. Like, if I'm down slope and we know there's a guy sitting here, I shoulder peek him. Maybe instead of peeking with AWP, it's better for me to just swing wide with a pistol so that I know my teammate 100% will get this trade. And here, I mean, I died, but I did definitely the right play. Okay, maybe this was a little bit bad example, but dying is a part of the game, and being courageous has a lot to do with not fearing things, and yeah.
Yeah. Because, you know, I've been told just to not watch Simple VODs because he plays like he just does not care.
Yeah.
And he's so good at it too. Like.
Yeah. But still, what you gotta know about someone like Simple, and this would be like the last thing I say today, is someone like Simple. I've heard this also a million times that people say, yeah, he plays like he just doesn't care. But if you actually sit down and watch a Simple demo, or at least like a recent Simple demo, it's crazy how his decision making is so refined. Like, it looks like he's unhinged, and he's definitely willing to take more risk than a lot of players. But for every time he takes a risk, there are 10 rounds where he didn't take the risk. Like, he's not some unhinged demon. Like, he knows when and when not to risk, and that's why it can come across as really courageous when he does it, because those are the ones that become the highlights. But the times when he doesn't and he just goes away to save the AWP, those get forgotten about. And like, I urge actually you to go watch a demo of Simple and just focus on the times where he doesn't take the risk, you know?
Yeah. Is there any like any particular majors, Stockholm or?
Doesn't have to be a major.
Or just an FPL, or just an FPL demo.
I would prefer it's from a match, I think, and something kind of recent. But just when you notice how often Simple gets smoked off and he just leaves the area, that's something that hit me. I think maybe I actually have a video on this topic. I might go and check real quick, and if I have one, then I'll send it to you.
You can link me that op video too. If you can link me the op video too, that'd be great.
Definitely, I can. Yeah. All right. Well,
that's all. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, man. I hope you got your questions answered, guys, and I hope you enjoyed the session. If this is something you guys liked, it's something we can do once a month. Having like the last session of the month being a Q&A, because I think these kind of questions, if it would not be asked here in a coaching session, they would be hard for you guys to get answers to. That's why I want to offer that.
You answer the questions I can't find on YouTube. So.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping.
Yeah, I just can't, like, I can't type that, or else YouTube will tell me we don't know what you're looking for.
Yeah, and sometimes it's also like, it's just not meaty enough to be enough for a video, but it is still important, you know?
Because even then, even though, like, you know, I've been here for the class and stuff, it's just nice to rewatch on my free time, just to keep in my head.
Yeah, I get that.